Welcome, everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast Show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. And you know what? We told everybody when we first started this podcast that we were looking for some of the best young talent that you may not have heard of yet, because we want to make sure you start hearing about these people. And we found one. It's Mia Friday. How's it going?
Woo! Good. How are y'all?
Awesome. Where are you at tonight?
Well, tonight at my house, chilling. Just finished up Reality of Wrestling last night. Had my title match, so I'm chilling today. I'm done. I ain't doing nothing today.
Well, let's talk about the title match. How did it go? I think it didn't go your way, but how was it?
It's already more than what I expected, and I'm so grateful. I am the youngest person in the history of Reality of Wrestling to have a title match. And so that was really crazy. It's also like my first title match ever. So I was just nervous. I put this thing on my story. It was like a selfie of me, but the caption was like nervous and pooping, #first title match. So that's how I felt about it. But it all went good.
Awesome. Well, let's start right there. You mentioned it. You're the youngest person to ever have a title shot for Reality of Wrestling. And for everyone who does not know, perhaps, Reality of Wrestling is down in Texas, run by Booker T. And you are 15 years of age right now. So that is amazing in itself. So congratulations from us to you. But overall, you started when you were 13 years of age, starting to train. When most people are out trying to run around, find their niche in things, maybe play sports, get on the internet, gossip, whatever, but you're out training for pro wrestling. How did you get into pro wrestling?
Well, I've always been pro wrestling's always been in my life because of my dad, and I just fell in love with it from the moment that he put on the TV, and I knew from the moment that I was 10 that I wanted to be a pro wrestler. So just whenever we found out that we had a wrestling school right in town, 10 minutes away from where I lived, it's why wouldn't I go chase my dream, So it's just happened to be a convenient moment. It was just my opportunity to take it.
So 10-year-old Mia Friday, who is she watching, and what are the wrestlers that impressed you the most?
So when I was 10, that was around WrestleMania 32. And before that, I wasn't a super mega fan, but I was still watching Raw and SmackDown every week, but I wasn't totally into it. So I love John Cena, the whole feud with John Cena and Ryback, the 3 Stages of Hell match. That was what that's what first got me into wrestling. But at WrestleMania 32, that was my first wrestling show. And it was a triple threat match between Sasha, Becky, and Charlotte. And it's crazy that just right as that match was going on, I just knew that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be these incredible women doing incredible things. And I want to be just like them. So now we're doing it.
And it sounds like you have a very supportive family. I think I've said this before. My son is your age. He's 15. And if he came to me right now and said, Dad, I want to be a pro wrestler, or even when he was 13, I probably would have questioned that. Yeah, well, when you get up older, we'll think about it. But your parents went ahead and were all for this. Talk to us about that process.
Yeah, well, they were actually the ones that found the wrestling school for me. I think my mom just texted me one morning hey, look, there's wrestling in town. I'm going to sign you up if you want me to. And I'm yes, please. So they were kind of the ones that were they knew how much I wanted to be a wrestler. So they just went ahead and signed me up and everything. But yeah, it's so important to have supportive parents. Whenever you're traveling out to different towns every weekend and you can't drive yet, and you just need help figuring out all these different adult things, because it's an adult job, it's not something that normal kids have. So I'm just really grateful that they've always been supportive of me.
Hey, you don't have to drive. You can sleep everywhere, to and from the shows. That's a bonus.
Yeah.
So how is that with schooling and everything else, with your friends, and what do they think about your career and the progress that you're making thus far?
Well, most of my classmates, they just don't believe me. So I don't really talk about it at school. I'm a really quiet person at school. People just think that I do like high school wrestling, or they'll think that I'm just like, I don't know. It's weird. They just don't believe me unless like they actually like follow me on Instagram, or if they go search me up and they're like, oh my gosh, he's doing like the real stuff, like the wrestling stuff. And so yeah, just normally like just at school, I just don't really talk about it.
Do you go to a pretty big high school?
No, it's kind of a smaller high school. We have like 3 hallways because it's a college credit high school. So we're supposed to graduate with our associate's degree whenever we're finished, which is also super stressful because it's more work and you're enrolled in these college classes while you're trying to wrestle. And so that's also really crazy.
Wow. So, that's one thing too. We've had a few people on the show who said that their parents were okay with them, but they had to get their degree first.
Mm-hmm.
And you're kind of already in a high school where you're already getting your degree. So that's actually really fascinating. Do you find yourself struggling in those classes, or are you pretty good, a student?
Kind of like, I'm not like the best, but I'm not like the strugglest of the struggling. It's I find a good balance. I study whenever it's really important, but I'm not a scholar, so I just try my best. I usually keep like some low A's, nothing too crazy, but my parents are always about all A's. So I just try my best and do what I can.
Low A's, man. If I would have told my parents I was just going to get some low A's, they probably would have threw me a parade through town. That's awesome, though. I mean, how now are your teachers aware of what you're doing as well, or are they just kind of not knowing?
Well, right now, no, because like I just started school and like they don't really like, we haven't gotten to that point yet. But like last year when I was a freshman, some of the teachers were like aware, and then like no, it was one teacher knew, and then another person knew, and then suddenly like all the teachers knew and they're telling me about it. And the principal walks up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, are you a wrestler?" And so at some point they all came to one of the wrestling shows in town, and they were like, "Oh my goodness, I didn't know this because you're so quiet in school. This is unbelievable." So yeah.
So is that intimidating to you when they all show up to a show, or does that just give you more confidence?
It's just more confidence, like I'm happy to just like be able to show off what I can do. I'm just happy to be able to wrestle. Nothing really changes. I'm just happy that I get that support.
During your early days of training, I can imagine that it would be just a little bit intimidating for yourself to go into somewhere to learn with adults who may not be taking you seriously. Did you find that as part of your training process, that people weren't taking you seriously, or was everybody kind of open arms?
It's a little bit of both, because there's so many people in this business that have something to say or just try to bring you down despite you're just like a little girl just trying to chase your dream like everybody else. But yeah, whenever I first joined when I was 13, I was the only girl and I was the youngest person, so it was just nothing but grown men whenever I started training. And the cool thing about my school is that they just everybody trains the same. Everybody's equal. We don't have like women's classes and men's classes. No, like we all train together and we all learn to hit the same way. We all learn to bump the same way. And so I was happy to just come to a school that was able to just treat me as one of the guys.
Did you have a strong athletic background that would help you out in your training?
Oh my goodness, absolutely not. Oh my goodness, I was the fattest little child ever. I never did like like when I was little, I would do like soccer, and like all the stuff that your parents kind of put you in, but I was like awful at all of that. So I was like super unathletic when I joined, and it was just like so hard for me to get everything down. But like it just, I'm a late bloomer, I still do everything now, but it was just so frustrating at first.
Again, so many people we have on the show tell us that they were the worst athlete of all time growing up. It's amazing.
So as you're developing your training and you're working on the moves and all the things that they're teaching you down there, Are there inspirations that you take from other areas that you enjoy, maybe movies or TV shows or different characters or things like that? Or are you kind of just kind of developing as you go with just yourself?
You're talking like character wise, like where I get
Yeah,
inspiration from my character.
yeah,
It's mm, it yeah, I'm kind of developing as I go. You know, like the whole gimmick that I'm doing right now, it's just kind of something that I came up with in my head, like out of nowhere. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna debut soon. I need some kind of character. And so it's kind of just developing into whatever it just becomes. It's just natural, you know. So the cool thing about my gimmicks, I think I can have a lot of freedom with it. So right now I have like the whole like the pink wig and I'm super happy. But like as I can get older, you know, I can start going to like different colors and I can have like a maybe like a less super bubbly and happy demeanor. And I'm just like I'm just letting it roam freely, you know. Like I don't want the gimmick to be too strict or too this or that. It's just Mia Friday, you know.
And you've worked with some great people so far. You've been in the ring with Roxy. You've been in the ring with Maddie Rankowski. Is there, how are those talents towards you? I mean, are they very mentoring towards you? Do you find a lot of people who are willing to offer advice to you?
Absolutely. I love any chance that I get to work in like any of these girls because they're all talented and I learn something different from every one of them. And they kind of treat me like a little sister. I'm just so grateful to be able to like be around them and they just welcome me in with open arms, especially Roxy. Like, um, she came to do a show one time back when I was like in training, just like doing crew with like my promotion. She came to do a show for my promotion. And like this, the moment that I met her, I'm like, hey, I'm like 13, I'm in training. And she was all like, oh my God, I love you. Here's my number. Let me know if you need anything. And it's just cool because I think she's been in the same position that I've been in, training at such a young age. And so she just like took me in and then like she's my mentor. And so I'm so grateful to have all these people being so nice to me.
And as we're filming this, she's possibly about to become the Ring of Honor Women's Champion tonight.
Go!
How does that make you feel?
Oh my goodness. I'm so happy for her. She texted me last night saying like, hey, how did your championship match go? I'm like, oh my goodness. Don't you got stuff to do too? You got your own championship match. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had Roxy on the show and, you know, and Maddie's been on the show as well. And a lot of the Texas girls have. And there is just such a great pipeline right now of women talent that are just branching completely out. And some of that has to do with the exposure of Reality of Wrestling, you know, that we're talking about, and Mission Pro and promotions like that. So when you look at, you know, where your training has been and also taking classes with Daga and Tessa Blanchard as well, I can't wait to see where your future's kind of going.
Oh, wait, you broke up. What did you say?
How you're training with Daga and Tessa and then working with Reality of Wrestling and, you know, different promotions around Texas area. I can't wait to just see how you're going to progress in the years to come.
Oh yeah. So yeah, getting out to it was so the whole like getting out to like training with different schools, it was just something that like I came up with it, but I was like so nervous about like sharing it with like the rest of my training people that I train with. I'm like, because it's just you see everybody else like doing it, you know, and you're like, I want to do this, but like I'm so young and like I can't drive. But I brought up the idea to a few of the people that I train with, like, hey, let's try to like branch out in different schools because like normally people from our school don't really like go out and train with other schools. So we were the first like at our school to start branching out to different schools and networking and this and that. And so when we got to go to train with Dog Pound, Reality of Wrestling, Tessa, like AAPW, it was so cool because you get to realize that like there's different styles of wrestling, different flavors of wrestling outside of like what's you've been learning this whole time. And I like how you can go to these different schools and you can like pick what you want and then take that with you, and then that can be part of your style, you know. So just going out to all these different schools and being able to take away different things, I'm so grateful because I feel like that's what's made me grow so much as a wrestler, getting to look at all the different styles and flavors that are out there.
When you look at the landscape of professional wrestling with all of these women killing it everywhere, from NXT to WWE main roster to AEW, ROH, all of these places are absolutely killing it. How exciting is that for you to know that the growth of professional wrestling is there to where the women are getting the time and more time all the time? It's just getting better for that. How does that? How exciting is that for you? And what avenues do you see yourself going down?
It's really awesome because there's just more opportunity than ever. Like there's a spot for everybody now. And like when I like I said before, when I was 10, that was like the moment that I knew I wanted to be a wrestler. That was right when the women's revolution was taking off. So like I always grew up knowing that women always deserved a spot. Women could do anything in wrestling in this male dominated sport. And so just to see how it's just becoming normal now for women to be equal to the men, to have multiple women's matches on a wrestling card. I just really excited for that. And you know, I don't know. It just like people always ask me like, where do you think you want to go? You know, like what's next for Mia Friday? And I feel like no matter what, there's always going to be some place there because there's so many different directions that like wrestling is like it's branching out. It's so many different things now. And it's just cool knowing that you can end up in so many cool different places.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing about you is your youth. I mean, you have so much time to kind of let this landscape kind of play itself out a little bit. Let's see what happens here, what happens there. In 2 to 3 years, who knows what's going to become of Reality of Wrestling? It could be, you know, on more available for more people to watch. It could be on cable television. So same thing with Mission Pro Wrestling, could be on cable television for people to watch as well. There's a lot of interesting dynamics that could really, you know, factor in.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you're not just a pro wrestler and you're not just a student, but you're also a musician.
Yes. Oh my goodness. It's so cool. It's so like, I always get so shy people bring it up. It's because like, I rarely like talk about it unless someone brings it up to me. So it's like, oh my God, you know, that I like do that or whatever. So yeah, I just finished my time with School of Rock, which was a really incredible thing I got to do, where I got to play so many different live shows. But now what I'm doing is this cool project with this new band that I have. And so this is, it's something really special to me because I've always dreamed of like performing my own music that I like wrote myself instead of like doing covers. So right now, we've been rehearsing like nonstop. So it's just like, I go to school, then I go to rehearsals, and then I go to training. So it's like I don't have time to come home anymore. But this project that we're doing, this whole album that we're doing, I think it's really cool. And I'm really happy that I get to drum and curate my own original music.
And like you said, you played the drums. How old were you when you first started playing the drums?
I think I started maybe when I was maybe 14 or 15. It was during quarantine. It was, right when like during the original breakout of the pandemic. And I started getting into heavy metal music and rock music. And I would like watch all these concerts. And what stood out to me the most was the drums. And I'm like, this is really cool. I got to do this. So, you know, you just go for it.
Who's some of your favorite bands?
Slipknot, Metallica. Dang. It's a little bit of everything. Like,
So you're really hard rock.
Yeah. But like at the same time I'm not, because I always listen to like the poppiest music and I love like it's hard to explain because I go for every style. I go for like heavy metal, death metal, classic metal, rock, pop. Like I think my top 2 favorite artists are Slipknot and Nicki Minaj. So when people ask me like who are your favorites, it's hard to narrow it down to a few, you know.
That's pretty awesome. Now, are you thinking like when you recording your own entrance theme music at some point? Would that be something that you want to do?
That's what I've been thinking about it. You know, it's like it's one of those things where it's such a gigantic leap, and you have to like really dedicate yourself to those kind of it's something that I definitely want to do down the road. I definitely want to try something like that, and also maybe play like live drums in my entrance. Just different ideas that I have that, you know, you just keep it in the back of your head. It's like ideas you keep for later, you know, but it's definitely something that I want to do sometime later.
Maybe you can infuse the whole rock into your character as you grow up older too. That's, you know, that's something I could really get behind.
Yeah, that's a character that I've also been kind of working on, but not really talking about, you know. So because people always bring up whenever you turn heel, you have to go Mia Monday. That's just what it has to be. So I've been like coming up with the whole Mia Monday character, and I want her to just be like the heavy metal rock character that I've always wanted to be, with like the super cool entrance, and then I want like some nice like cool sparkly dark gear, and those things are just kind of fun to think about. That's something that could happen in the future.
Well, Mia, before we let you go, tell everyone where they can find you on social media. And if you have anything that you want to plug as far as merchandise or anything, here's your shot.
Yes, so you can follow me on Instagram. It's Mia Friday. Twitter, it's Mia Friday. I have a Facebook page. I have a YouTube page. And yes, you can message me on any of those platforms about merchandise. I got shirts, I have bracelets, I have 8x10s, and just supporting independent wrestlers on social media is so important in this day and age. So I would really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, we've said it 1,000 times. If it wasn't for social media, there's so many talents that we wouldn't even know existed. And we have totally fallen in love with those talents due to social media and being able to go back and rewatch things of theirs.
Right.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, everyone else out there, make sure you are taking care of yourselves, because you need to go see Mia wrestle real soon. All right. She's killing it. So make sure you are doing what you need to be doing. Make sure everyone out there is staying safe. Head over to PWTs. Make sure you all pick up some of our merchandise. Hit the subscribe button. Pick up a copy of the book, Independent Road to Wrestler's Journey. We're doing major plugs here tonight, Mia. Okay. And by all means, again, make sure you are staying safe. For myself and Tom, we will be back later this week. We have a killer lineup. I'm still knocking on the wood because we know things happen all the time. We got a killer lineup coming up this week. And we thank Mia so much for her time tonight. Thank you, Mia.
Thank you.
All right. For everyone else out there, we'll see y'all later in a week.